Hey everybody, my name is Travis Glassman with Sons of Fall, and I am going to do a review on the new Mantis X8 Archery shot analyzation system. Brian and I were over at the ATA show in January, and we ran across the guys at the Mantis booth, and these guys were really awesome guys. We had a good conversation, and they were looking for folks to test this new product with an unbiased opinion. So we were nice enough to take on that role. So Brian and I are going to put together a couple of reviews for these guys, and we're really excited because whenever you have a made in the USA piece of gear like this that's going to improve the archer's ability to develop a good shot process or set up a bow properly, that's really exciting. So we're going to put this thing to the test. I'm going to unbox it. I'm going to walk you through their recommendations on how to set it up and some of the things that it offers along the way. So I'll go ahead and get it unboxed, and I'll probably spend some time with it and kind of check in with different video clips as I go. So let's get started. All right, so we will go ahead and unbox. And right on top is a quick start guide, and that gives us a 1, 2, 3 step. The first being to download the Mantis X Archery app, and then number 2 is to attach the Mantis X smart sensor to your bow. And like I said earlier, they have a little Picatinny rail with some 3M tape on the back. And you'll go ahead and pull that out and make sure you clean the surface that it's going to. And I would recommend like a flat spot on the right hand side of the riser, or like a sight rail, anything that's going to give you a nice flat surface. So I will go ahead and mount it here in a second, but I wanted to show you first the actual sensor, and it's in a palm size case. And that is all there is to it. It's just a tiny little bit bigger than a quarter type sensor that will slide on the little rail that you mount to the side of your bow. So we'll go ahead and get it mounted, and once we do, I will kind of walk through some of the startup with the app and try to get moving on that. So real quick, in the case, you just got a little charger that you can plug into any wall outlet, and it just plugs in the back right there. So that is all that's in the package, and we'll go ahead and get this thing mounted. All right, so I went to the App Store and downloaded the Mantis Archery app, which is that one there. But first, they recommend to power this thing on. So we'll get that turned on and we'll open the app. Okay, so it says, the first little banner says, before you get started, review our instructions for mounting. You can find these in the settings tab under the instruction guide. So I know there is a nice little instruction guide once you get inside the app, so it's nice to know that you have some support once you get that downloaded. So go ahead and click OK. Welcome to Mantis. Press the button on your Mantis hardware device to turn it on, which we've done. Once the green LED is blinking, press the connect button in the app to connect the device. So we're going to go ahead and click that back on again, and we're going to go ahead and hit connect. And there we go. Starting from the ready position, Mantis X will record all the bow movement to the following colors. Teal being the bow coming up, green is the bow coming down as you draw the arrow, yellow as you are getting closer to your target, orange is when you are within 2 degrees before you release the arrow. So that is the little breakdown. I'm gonna click OK. We're gonna calibrate. It says set the bow down on a still surface to calibrate. So we did not mount yet, but I am going to just set the sensor on the table here. The Mantis will record the bow movements from your ready position until you release the arrow. You'll get a score for each shot based on how stable the bow is before the release. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause here. I'm gonna mount it. Again, I'll clean the surface on the bow and make sure that the little rail here is mounted properly. And we'll slide the sensor on the bow and we'll go from there. All right, so I'll show you real quick on the new RX4 from Hoyt where I'm going to mount this. You can obviously use like the sight rail, but in this case, because the rest is on the rail style mount, in this particular case, it leaves the whole side open where you would normally mount kind of a bolt style rest. So I did want to show you that this rail needs to be mounted in a horizontal type position because everything will slide on from the back and kind of click in. So I'll go ahead and sit that on there. I've already peeled the back, so we're gonna hold that for a second. And then this actually has kind of a little spring loaded, and it kind of opens or locks a little plunger. And so we're gonna go ahead and pull that little rail or the button and slide it on, and then it'll click right into place. So they recommend on the back side there's the charge port, and then on the front side it's basically, like I said, that little spring-loaded button. They recommended the Mantis lettering is on the upside, or you need to be able to see it. So it's essentially mounted on a horizontal plane that way. So that's the correct way to mount it. And now that we've got it, we will go ahead and kind of switch the camera over to the view of the phone or the app to kind of show how everything works as the bow moves around. I'll go ahead and unbolt the bow from the mount here and we'll do some testing. One thing I wanted to mention is that whenever you do click the trace button and start shooting, it doesn't really show anything live. So if you're wanting to show what's going on, I'll just go ahead and click live up in the top right just for video purposes today. And I'll fire a shot real quick before I actually do my test, and I'll show you how everything moves around, and you can kind of see, I'll draw my bow, and usually I come up and then come down to my target and then fire the shot. And then I usually pull just a hair to the right. Once the arrow is gone, that's just kind of my natural follow through, which you'll see. So I will go ahead and shoot an arrow in live mode for you real quick. All right, so as you'll see, I'm moving the bow around, just nocking an arrow. Flip up my rest. All right. All right, as you'll see, that was a shot process. It didn't really record anything, so that's kind of, you won't see the full different color coding in that application. We'll go ahead and go over here to train again, to trace again, and that was the shot I just took. So as you'll see, the kind of light blue line comes up, it turns to green, coming back down onto the target, and then I settle in right there in the middle, which is the orange. That's kind of the aim. And then as soon as I fire the arrow, you'll see that it turns red. So I fired the arrow right on the X, and then as soon as I let the arrow go, I kind of pulled. That's kind of my natural movement or follow through. So that just kind of shows you exactly what happened in the live mode. My stability score right there was 94. So now I'm going to go ahead and stop that. I'm going to reset it, and I'll go ahead and pull my arrow, and pretty quick I'll hit start again. All right, so now I've got 4 arrows, and I'm going to do a shot sequence with all 4 to kind of map out how my shooting sequence is, hold time, and shot after the arrow's fired. You can see the follow through. And so we'll go ahead and hit start, and we're ready. So it will record after I fire the first arrow. It'll show you what exactly happened, and I'll kind of explain that after I get all 4 arrows shot. But I'll go ahead and run 4 arrows through the bow, and we'll see what it comes up with. Okay, now we will go ahead and stop that. So as you can see, we have 4 boxes on the bottom. Number 1, 2, 3, and 4, obviously showing how the different shots played out. Again, to review, the blue line, which goes all the way up, that's kind of like the draw, and then obviously I come back down onto the target. You can see in the middle, the orange, that's basically aiming, and then it turns to red as soon as the arrow was fired. So as you can see, excuse me, as you can see, you come back down, or I come back down and hold on to the target and then fire the arrow, and I usually kind of have a left torque, just a hair, and then I go left and up. Moving on to the next one, you can kind of see the same thing. I come left as soon as the shot's fired. Going over to number 3, same thing. So you can see a pattern on how I draw, hold, and shoot. So what I'll do is go over to history. So right there, that shows you the 4 shots, 1 session. My stability score is 94.3. Not sure if that's great. I'll have to do some research and figure out what you're aiming for. So anyway, that just kind of gives you an idea of exactly what happened. One thing I do know is you can go to a lot of different things up top. It'll show you different times for how long you took to draw, how long you held, how long it took to fire the shot from start to finish. There's so many different analytical things that you can dive into and kind of soak up and whatnot. So, all right, at this time I want to go ahead and summarize my feelings and my thoughts on the little Mantis shot analyzation system. Obviously, this little tiny device, which you don't even know is on your bow, does a whole lot. And the technology behind this is just incredible. So I was very surprised at the detail that it shows on the app, what it records, times, every little tiny little movement that you make. It really kind of humbles you a little bit. I think it looks worse than it really is. On the screen you can see every little tiny movement. So but again, I think consistency is the main thing in archery, and this will allow you to see if you're being consistent or not. In my case, luckily I am doing the same thing over and over and over. I do feel like this is a huge tool to tell you possibly where to dial in some of the weights on your bow, meaning stabilization weight. So I noticed that in my follow through, I pull to the left and then everything kind of comes up, which leads me to believe that I might be able to dial a little more front weight to keep everything more level on release. So again, if my bow's coming up, that probably tells me that I'm stacked a little bit on the back side. So in this case, I have a stokerized stasis, and on the back I have a little more weight than on the front, just because I felt that it was more balanced that way. But what really matters is once the arrow is fired. So that tells me that the bow is wanting to tilt backward on release. So maybe I'll take a little bit of weight off the back and put it toward the front and kind of dial that in, and maybe revisit this shot sequence and see if that helps anything. So I think that's probably the most valuable thing, is just kind of getting everything dialed weight-wise, stability-wise, for a perfect shot. So I can see where this could benefit for a target archer, someone who's really looking into fine-tuning everything for competition. Obviously, hunting is also beneficial, but if you're really wanting to get meticulous on the target side, this is a great tool to give you some feedback. So all in all, I'm very, very happy with the product. I do recommend it. Again, this is an unbiased review. We're just doing it just because we love archery gear. And from myself and the Sons of Fall guys, I appreciate the opportunity, and I wish you all the best of luck in 2020. So we will see you out in the field.